by 12 people. It's just 12 people that's going to say, get rid of them, keep them. If we get rid of them, let's hire this guy or that guy.
Yes.
But US Judo now, the board decided, the all-powerful board, they're very powerful now, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've decided you can do it. So now you can. And so if I went to senior nationals, second round, my guy's fighting, I could yell the whole time?
Yep.
Wow. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Shintaro Higashi Show with Peter Yu. Today we have a very special guest. We have Chris Round here. Why are we here, Chris?
That's always a great question. We are here because USA Judo is having its board directors elections.
Nice.
And I'm here to get people to sign up to vote and get involved. This is the most important election that we will have had in recent memory. As everyone knows, the Los Angeles Olympic Games are coming up in 2028. And this is the board that will be responsible for a lot of the key planning and a lot of the key decisions, things ranging from, how athletes might be selected to the direction of USA Judo. So I want to try to make sure I am, for reference, I'm a member of the Governance and Elections Committee. So what I'm trying to do is, I help to oversee the election. I want to maximize turnout for everybody.
Awesome. So let's start with this, okay? There's a lot of complaints online about US Judo this, US Judo that. People are complaining nonstop. I've gotten the emails like, hey, vote for this board of director, the athlete representatives. And I was like, I've always ignored it because I never thought it mattered.
Oh, so that's a mistake. This really does matter. Here's the thing. We're awesome in American Judo about complaining about things. We're really good at it.
We really are. I'm one of those people. I complain all the time. I don't really do much. And you know what? I don't know how to make any sort of changes within the organization that's going to impact me or the people who are doing judo. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't even know how it works. I mean, I do now because, we had many conversations. I've looked into it. But why don't you tell us how it works and why it matters?
Sure. So to begin with, the board directors elections, this isn't like, we have a presidential election going on. So that's obviously a massive, massive thing with millions and millions of people. USA Judo isn't nearly that big. In fact, some of these director positions, the number of people who can even vote is relatively small. So actually, it's more like voting like a small town election, where really every vote does count because there might only be in some categories a few hundred votes, if that.
That's it?
Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I ran for athlete director a couple of years ago. I think the winner had 140 total votes.
What? All right. So how many positions are we talking about here for voting? CEO is a hired position.
Yes.
Not like an elected position.
Yes.
So we're not even talking about that, right?
Yes.
But ultimately, the board decides who the CEO is. Therefore, it kind of matters.
Exactly.
So how many people are on the board?
All right. So there's 12 people on the board.
12?
Yep.
Okay.
Half of them are up for election this time. And then the other half will be up in 2 years. So
it's a 4-year term?
Yeah, 4-year term. And
so 12 people make a decision. Let's just say, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's one. Keith Bryant, CEO right now, his contract is up this year.
I believe so, or it's coming up.
It's coming up, okay? Mm-hmm. That means the board decides whether he stays or USA Judo gets a new CEO.
Yes, and they would also be the ones to select the new one, too.
By 12 people. It's just 12 people that's going to say, get rid of them, keep them. If we get rid of them, let's hire this guy or that guy.
Yes. Yep.
Interesting. So it's pretty big then.
Oh, it's big. And, they're also the folks who they ensure that the organizations, they keep an eye and make sure the organization's running well. There's groups like the Financial Audit Committee that they have a role in selecting the members for. When you look at all the different committees and volunteer committees that help run USA Judo, they select most of the people that are on them. They ensure that there's athlete representation on them. Yeah. So it's really important who has these roles. And that's part of why these elections can get really intense, but it's also why it's so important that everyone gets out and registers to vote for them. Now, the thing to remember is it's not just it's not something where like, hey, we're voting on 5 different random directors. Actually, the way our board is set up, there are different types of directors to ensure that different sections of USA Judo that need to be represented are. So this time around, we have 6 spots up, as I mentioned. 2 of them are for the athlete directors. So these are people who had been on who had been on the U.S. Elite senior roster, or had been on a World or Olympic team or Pan Am team at some point.
Yeah.
So their job is to represent and really advocate for the athletes.
So theoretically, if I was on the roster, which I was, I could run for these positions, not for this term, but like the next term.
Yep, and actually you could run, whoops.
Not voting for you, Chris.
That was my reminder to get on this call.
Yeah.
No, sorry about that. So, no, like, so for example, you're eligible because you were on the world team in 2011, and you were on, and I believe you were on a Pan Am team as well.
No Pan Am team. 2011 and 2010, yeah.
Yep.
For the world, yeah.
Yeah, so you're eligible. Or someone like Lauren Meese, who's on the Olympic team in 2000, would be eligible. So these
for the athlete's representation.
Yes.
But I could also be eligible for other director spots.
Yes. So there's the coach board member who represents the coaches and is meant to advocate for the coaches and work with them. That right now that's a really important role because it helps. They're the person that will interface with you if you're a coach at senior nationals, at junior Olympics.
Yeah.
Who will give you, okay, here's what the board decided. There are key discussions that happen all the time to impact your day-to-day coaching. Like, hey, what was the discussion by the board around are coaches allowed to coach during the mate for different divisions? So
that's something that they've actually voted on.
Yep, there was a decision by the board. I think it was last year or the year before when that rule came down about coaching during the Hajime, that unless it's for an international selection, so unless it's for to make the world team or junior world team, that they would allow coaching during the Hajime. Okay,
all right. So this is a coaching issue. So for instance, the coach director brings this up and presents it to the board, and then the board is like, yes, no, maybe. And then everyone takes a vote, and that's how the decisions are made.
That's how many of the big decisions are made. And there's some
interesting. For the guys who are listening right now on the international circuit, you can't coach while the athletes are fighting. Only when it's like, all right, you got to bounce, mate, stop. Then the coach is like, hey, blah, 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 and then you coach only in between. It's kind of like tennis, right? When the person's serving and rallying, you can't say anything or do anything.
Yeah, right? And to be clear, I misspoke. I meant to say coaching during the Hajime. You're not allowed right now to coach during the Hajime.
Yeah. Internationally. But US Judo now, the board decided, the all-powerful board, they're very powerful now, right? They've decided you can do it. So now you can. And so if I went to senior nationals, second round, my guy's fighting, I could yell the whole time?
Yep.
Wow.
Now, in the event senior nationals remember back in the day, if you won senior nationals, you could challenge for a world team slot. Now, if that comes back, let's say they use that as a selection event, that would go away. You would have to follow the IJF coaching rules. But
interesting.
So that's an issue. I was coaching at Junior Olympics, and I was coaching Justin Mata, and during Justin's matches, I could only coach during the Hajime because it was a selection event for Junior Worlds.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah. So this is an example of a kind of really important decision the board has to make. So
we have athletes representation, coaches representation. What are the other ones?
There's the group member director. So as you know, there's like New York State Judo, there's New Jersey Judo, Virginia Judo. There is someone who will represent all of the different state orgs. That is voted on by the state orgs themselves. So that's a little harder election to get involved in. That's going to be more focused on, hey, if I'm involved, say Wisconsin Judo, that's an election I'll pay attention to because Wisconsin Judo gets a vote. Indiana Judo gets a vote. Wait
a minute. So you have 12 seats. You don't have 12 votes?
No, what I mean is the vote. So each of these directors, their target population, who they are supposed to be representing, they get to vote for them. So the athlete director, and I'll explain voter eligibility in a second, but for the athlete director, you had to have been on the U.S. roster, or been on a world team, or some kind of you had to have competed on the IGF tour or been on the lead roster to vote for that role. Just to vote for coach, I've got to be a registered coach. For the group member director, that's each state organization gets a vote for the group member director.
Okay. So, for instance, like New York State, Leo Lopes is the president. He gets to vote.
Yep. Or
Okay, got
representative.
it.
Like if Leo Lopes couldn't do it, he could have.
Got it. Okay. So, what's the next one?
The next one is the at-large director, and this is the biggest one. This is when anyone over the age of 18 who is a member of USA Judo and good standing can vote for this.
Wow. How many slots are there for at-large?
There are, I think, 2 at-large directors. I have to double check, but right now we have one that's up, so we're only voting for one at-large director. And then, and those are all the categories you can vote on. There is an independent director who gets selected as well, but that's selected by my committee. So,
okay. So how many athlete slots are there? 4, right?
There are 4 total. 2 are up this time, and 1 slot has to be given to a Paralympian.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So if there's 3 already selected and there is no Paralympian, that 4th person is just automatically going to be a Paralympian?
Yeah, it has to be Paralympian.
Interesting. So like the Olympic qualification criteria coming up for the next quad of 2028, the US Judo decides, because every division is already qualified, they can sit around and be like, okay, we're just going to have a national roster. Whoever's the highest on that roster gets to go to the Olympics.
And that's what they did for the Sydney Olympics.
Wow. Really? So they can just decide that?
As long as it stays within the guidelines, the law set by the USOPC, they can do whatever they want.
Interesting. So how do we lobby these people who are candidates into getting them to do sort of what we want? Or what are their stances even? How do we know?
So that's a great question. First and foremost, most of these board meetings are open to the public. Anyone can show up and just to observe. There are meeting minutes on the website that you can see, like what discussions have been going on. You can get a sense of where people stand on different topics. You can also reach out.
Yeah, most people are going to look through that.
That's
I think 99% of people are not going to tap into a board meeting thing, and I'm almost going to guarantee that. So is there a sort of a platform where like, oh, hey, Nicole Stout, for instance, this whole thing started because I saw Nicole Stout's video on Instagram and Facebook, and she was like, we got to get rid of Keith Bryan. We got to do this and that and that. And then I was like, she makes some good points. And then I was like, who is this woman? Yeah, I've known her for that she competes. Yeah. But like, what position is she in to be able to kind of say all this stuff? And she's like, and then you explained to me, like, this woman is on the board of directors. And I was like, all right, I didn't know they did anything, Yeah. And then you explained this to me, like, how can we see more of this stuff? Like, this person believes in that person believes in that, Kamala Harris believes in climate change.
So
we're going to talk about that after this, by the way, Chris.
Yay. So here's the good thing. So my committee, we're putting up a website, and we're going to be, you and I are recording this on the 12th. We're going to be releasing the list of candidates we're supposed to be releasing the list of candidates on the 14th. Yep.
To that. Yep.
And we will be releasing a site that will have everyone's platform statements, their elevator pitches for why you should vote for them. And breaking that down, saying, hey, my name is such and such. This is why you should elect me. This is what my vision is. So it'll be a one-stop shop. Keep an eye out in your email for that, and that will have whether it's Nicole Stout has been public about her running, but
yes,
as mentioned. But there's other folks who are running who you'll get to learn more about them. And the thing is too, once you know who they are. These are all USA Judo is a small community. You can walk up.
Tiny.
Yeah, same. Yeah. You can walk up to. Let's talk about people who are on the board now. I mean, you could walk up to Colton Brown at a tournament. You could walk up to Marty Malloy and make your voice heard.
Yeah, I could text Colton right now and be like, "Hey, Colton, what is your stance on this or that?" I could do that. I could call him right now. And 1 o'clock he'll pick up and be like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'll be like, "Hey, what is your stance on this or that?" And then he'll let me know, right? That's pretty cool how close it is. And even Nicole Stout, I was able to just find her on Instagram, send her a DM. I was like, hey, can I have you on my podcast? She's like, yes. And then I'm like, wow, I could just have a conversation with her. And then, you win over Nicole and Colton. And then, you guys have views that are aligned. That's 2 votes out of 12 already.
Yeah. So that's the thing. That's kind of the cool thing about USA Judo elections is, and look, let's be clear, Shintaro. I'm a nerd.
We know this.
Yes,
We know
we know
this.
this. So I find this stuff really fun. But one of the cool things about American Judo lectures is like, look, we can all sit here and complain online. It's very
All
easy
complain
to,
on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
look, anyone can sit down, grab a bag of chips, and write a long screed on Facebook. But
Yep. And
here,
I like reading those. I'll sit back, read them, and it's like almost cathartic. I'm
this,
just like, wow, these people are going at it. I don't like interject or anything like this, but I'm definitely like tuned in to some of the complaints, and it's the same complaints over and over again. Keith Bryan isn't doing this or that or whatever it is. So this we could really actually make a change,
yep,
right?
look, writing Facebook screeds isn't voting. Writing Facebook screeds is not advocating and lobbying for your position, or even just finding what people are doing. Like,
Yeah.
there's activities that American Judo is up to that a lot of people may not even realize, like the Play LA program, where they're working on, getting as many kids as possible to try judo in the LA area ahead of the LA Olympics. Or other partnerships. One of the issues that has come up is, for example, and you have things like the American Judo system that USA Judo members can access. Whether or not we keep that is a question the board has to answer. So if you like it, tell your board members. Talk to the people who are running. See what their stance is on it. If you don't like it, same thing. If you, I personally like it because my coach puts it together and it's a great reference point for my students. But, ultimately, you actually can have your voice heard and you can make your case to these folks. It's not that hard.
So after our conversation the other day, you were like, you could just register to vote because, so like so voter criteria, I could vote under the coaching thing, but I can't vote across many different representations, right?
You have to pick one. Everyone can vote for at large,
category.
And then you pick one category. So
wait, so I can vote for at large and
one other category.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because you and I both qualify. So you and I are in the same boat. We qualify for athlete, coach, and at large. So you and I can, when it comes to voting for athlete or coach, you and I each have to pick a category that we're going to be, all right, I'm voting as Chris Round the athlete, or I'm voting as Chris Round the coach.
But you get more bang for your buck in the athlete section because you get 2 votes because you pick 2 people.
No, you pick one person. And
wait, but I thought you said 2 people's terms are ending.
Yeah, so whoever gets the top 2 votes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, so I'm going to do athlete and then at large. Yeah. And it was so easy. I went to usajudo.org, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I clicked on the thing, and then I just put in my name, and then they asked me for what category, what year I competed on, like what, where I was on the roster or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, I get an email saying, hey, we'll let you know when the candidates are, whatever it is. And then when was the voting day?
The voting date is October 7th to the 10th. And actually, I will correct something. Yes, you get to vote for each candidate. So you can pick 2 different people.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I could vote for...
So you get to vote for 2 different people, and whoever has the most votes at the end.
Okay. So let's say you were never on the roster.
Yep.
And you're just an average guy with a USA Judo membership. What can you vote for?
You can vote for at large.
That's the only one?
Only one.
Okay. So at large, who is run? Is there anyone that's up for election for at large?
There are a bunch of people running for at large.
Any names that we would know?
So candidate list. We sent out our candidate list approvals very recently.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's go ahead.
So there's a list of people running, and then when the names come out, we could even interview all these people, like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of like publicly know their position.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, whether they truly believe it or not, who knows, right? But like, that's kind of amazing how, if you know 4 of the athlete representatives, that's 1/4 of the vote.
Yeah. So here's who's running right now. In this list, people are in their final stages of like confirming whether or not, 100% whether or not they're running. So
1 slot open for at large, did you say?
Yep, 1 slot's open for at large.
Okay, let's hear the name.
Okay, so at large, it's Matthew Parker from Colorado.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Hector Lons, those of you familiar with the Judo Today program, he's behind that.
Okay.
Jerry Seipert,
All right.
Eric Sanchez, and Grace Jividan.
Oh, and I know Eric Sanchez and Grace Jividan because they were both competitors back in the day.
Yeah,
Why didn't they go for the athlete representation? Just because they figured this would be a better way in?
that's a question for them.
That's a good question for them. Do we know any of their stances on anything?
That's a good question for them.
Interesting. Okay, so that's your name of candidates for at large. What about athletic side, the athletes representatives?
So it's Nicole Stout, Ari Boner, Angelica Delgado, Marty Malloy, and Melissa Myers.
So there's 5 people
for 2 slots.
For 2 slots. Mm-hmm. And then the other 2 who are already in are
Colton and I forget his name, the Paralympian. I'll have to take a look. Okay. But Colton and the Paralympian will be coming up in 2 years. And
got it.
Also, she hasn't confirmed yet, but Hannah Martin is technically on the list right now, but I'm waiting to see if she confirms.
Okay, cool. Yeah, she kind of made her rounds with the seminars too, right? I think she did her seminar at your gym.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Yeah, she is great, man. I've known her for a long time too. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, so what is the best way for everyone? So everyone has to go to USA Judo and register to vote right away, no matter what. Right then and there.
Yeah.
Right? Easy to do. And then once you register, you have to figure out which of these candidates are aligned with what you're thinking the direction of USA Judo should be.
Yeah. And by the way, I can give you the other candidates. For right now, running for coach director is Ari Miller, who's the incumbent director, and running against him is Jimmy Pedro.
Jimmy's on in already?
Jimmy's running for the coach director position. Right now, it's Ari Miller out of USA Stars in Virginia.
Right now, it's Ari Miller.
Yes.
I don't know why I thought it was Jimmy for some reason.
And then the group member director, I'm going to wait to say anything just because there's a couple people in that group who've been nominated in multiple categories, and they have to choose.
Got it. So the biggest decision that USA Judo is facing right now is what the Olympic criteria is going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're talking about it already, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second one is whether we keep Keith Bryant or not as CEO. Those are the 2 biggest decisions.
And there's a third, and that's what is the growth strategy for American Judo? What is the role USA Judo is going to have in building judo and taking advantage of the LA Olympics? And that's tied to the other 2. But those are the 3 big ones. And there are other decisions. There are things that the board will work on and do that a lot of us won't realize they did. But they even have a role in selecting the Olympic coach. They can have a say and say, hey, we want this person or this person.
Yeah. So do you ever lobby these people, like talk to them and be like, hey man, like this is what I think, this is what I thought? Because I know you had an idea about Olympic qualification, what it should be for the next quad, and you laid out multiple options that you've seen in the past, what you think works and what you think doesn't work.
Yes.
And I saw that email. I appreciate you sending it to me, and I was like, wow, Chris Round is really thinking deeply about this stuff, and he laid it out on a silver platter for these people to take a look at and literally pick and choose from the options.
Yep.
So you've sent this to all the board members.
And you know what?
Interesting.
I'll tell you right now, I sent that, I want to say, right before Senior Nationals. Yeah. I might be off, but anyways, I think it was right before Senior Nationals. And at that Senior Nationals, I had members of the board walking up to me and talk to me about it. And people saying, hey, I like some of the ideas, or, hey, thanks for the input. Because the board director's contact information is listed on USA Judo's website. You can just email them at any time.
Bombard them.
Yeah.
Growth strategy. First, go to Shintaro's YouTube and like, share, and subscribe. There we go. And then buy all my DVDs.
And then go to High Noon Judo and like the Instagram page.
Yeah,
we'll go in that order.
Yes. Man, interesting. Okay, so you know where all the board members stand on the Olympic criteria if you had conversations with them. Because you probably asked them, which option do you like?
I did. Most of them were a little cagey, I'll be real with you, because the focus was on Paris. They had to focus on making sure things are in line for Paris, and now they're in the phase now where they're supposed to be working on Olympic criteria. So there was actually there was effectively an open meeting Monday night where they talked and they said the criteria is going to be released in the next few months, and because they have to, it's a requirement.
Yeah, for sure.
But I got, I got a sense of some of the key questions. Hey, who's interested in having a trials? Who's interested in doing,
So will there be, in your humble opinion, should there be a trials for the Olympics?
Actually, yeah. So I'll state my opinion. I have no issue stating my opinion on this. Yes, there absolutely should, and there should be for three reasons. First and foremost, if we want to put, people are talking about the idea of we want to make sure we just put the best team forward. We need to put the best team forward, absolutely. And one of the best ways we can do that is ensuring people get a lot of matches in between now and 2028. And we can use a trials criteria to build something around to get people to fight as many matches as possible.
So you want to discourage, let's just say, for instance, something like, if you've ever made a world team before, you could limp into the trials, and then guys like me just show up out of the woodworks and be like, hey, I'm here for the trials. Like, you want to discourage that.
Oh, so here's the funny thing. I actually don't. And I'll explain why. This might just be me being a little chaotic. We need a selection process that produces a great team. We need a selection process that helps to generate interest and money into USA Judo, and we need a selection process that can produce some really good stories. So actually, I explicitly wrote and said, hey, if you were on a U.S. Olympic team or world team, you're in if you want it. You have to give a heads up. You have to enter back into the testing pool.
Yes.
You have to let USA Judo know within a certain bit and pass physical examination, because we're not letting somebody walk out on the mat on a wheelchair. But hypothetically, under what I wrote, Shintaro, I look forward to seeing you at the 28 trials.
That would be really cool. Okay, so now you've had this amazing idea that I'm already bought into, obviously, because then it kind of gives me a glimmer of hope, right? Now you've spoken to a lot of the representation about this stuff. Were they favorable about it at all?
There was a lot of interest, and basically what I at the time heard was, we have to engage with this. We found there are a lot of interesting ideas here, and we're going to be engaging with it more post-Paris. So I have not.
So they were pretty vague. They were doing the right thing about it. They were kind of playing, a little bit of politician. So you don't really know where they stand on your opinion on this stuff.
Not yet, but there will be. Ultimately, the folks who they are going to have to make a decision in the next few months, and whoever is elected is going to play a role, even if they don't end up being part of the group that selects the qualification process. They're part of the group that has to make sure that stuff actually gets followed through on.
So there's a committee to decide this also.
There's a group of folks that decide, and ultimately the board has final say, as I understand it.
The board, okay. So, but the board members are also on these committees to decide. I would think the athletes would be in that committee, right?
Yeah, so athlete representation is required by law on all committees in USA Judo. Whether we're talking, so I'm an athlete representative for my committee for nomination and governance. There's athlete representatives required for, ethics, for even the referee commission has a requirement. And actually, so here's another thing. If you're an athlete and you want to be involved with American Judo, these are volunteer positions, and you can let your board members know, hey, I'm interested in being involved. How can I be and ask, how can I get involved? Do you need somebody? These committee roles, some of them can be, some of these committees can be really busy, and somebody doesn't have the energy to work on it for long periods, so they'll step away and a spot will open up. Some of them are changed every so often. I was part of a group of folks that was put on this committee about 2 years ago. But athlete representation is required by law because we're an organization that is trying to put athletes in the Olympics. So that's just to make sure that the athletes get a say.
Interesting, man. Interesting. So I think the biggest impact is really, if you're listening to this podcast, and the likelihood you haven't been on the roster might be not that high. So at large is really for the majority of the listeners.
Yes. It's really important.
Yeah. Because I thought it would be much easier for me to get the athlete representatives on the podcast because I know all of them, but it's probably benefits majority of the listeners to bring on the candidates that are going to be running for that large position.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, because all you have to do is and make sure you register to vote. Get your registration done. but you just have to be 18 or older and a member of USA
Yeah.
Judo Incorporated.
So when they have the board meetings, that's when they talk openly about, all right, who should be CEO, this and that.
Yeah, they can. They can call for executive session, which is when they do close the doors. And there's reasons you might do that. Maybe you're dealing with a sensitive issue.
Yeah. Okay.
And then what will
Yeah.
be recorded are the outputs.
So Olympics, Keith Bryant, CEO. I've been trying to get him on the phone. I got to tell you, man, he has not been getting back to me, dude. He said in one email, yes, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Never got back to me. I even strong-armed myself onto you and said, hey, can you connect me in a group text? And thank you for that, Chris. And then I sent the message in that chat. And you know what? He has not responded. So, you know what I mean? Like, he is like, 0 for 7 in my attempt at reaching out and connecting with him. And I met him before, I had conversations with him before. I think he kind of has a feeling like, oh, maybe he wants to like get this election thing or whatever it is, or I don't know. I hope he doesn't think I'm trying to like ambush him or anything like that. I just genuinely just want to have a conversation where I kind of have an impact, for the people who are watching, listening, involved with American Judo. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'd encourage you to not just with USA Judo, but I'd look at some of the leadership at USJF or USJA. All three of these orgs, look, we can have long conversations about the status of national judo orgs, but actually, if you dive in with each one right now, they're all doing different and interesting things.
They are. And I've been at a lot of these meetings before, and I've volunteered and went, and I'm on the promotional committee in the Hudson Judo region, New York State also. I'm like a promotion vice chair or something of this nature. Where I like look over the applications.
So I'll talk to you when I need my go done.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But you're not New York. You're not Hudson. But yes, but it's pretty amazing how organized it seems. The structure is in place. And I think it's just I don't know, what is it? Can we what's next for USA Judo? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's really you look at it. And you and I have had conversations offline about this, and I'll refer people back to your episode you had with Jimmy recently about the economics around judo. People have, as long as I've been in judo, people have been predicting the demise of American judo.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of upsides going on right now. There's a lot of positive waves that we can ride to build the sport in the United States. We're seeing models like Judo Today, and it's working in schools in Florida where they're setting up people with full-time jobs teaching judo. You have
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
you see, there's a marketing issue too, because I am so in judo, like this is all I do, right? But I don't even know about any of these programs. I guess maybe because I don't go to the meetings,
Yeah.
But still, I mean, there's definitely a marketing issue where if I can't hear about it, the average judo population is definitely not hearing about it,
Yeah, and you look at some of the people who've been really successful in marketing in American Judo. You have, I mean, kind of the OG of marketing in American Judo is Radi. But you got Radi, you've got you, Justin Flores works with everybody, but he's done phenomenal. And one thing I'll recommend to folks is putting in the effort on doing good advertising, doing good marketing. It pays. It does. It will help your club. It'll help your club grow. I remember I got a hard time from some old timer when I first started, because he's like, you can exist off word of mouth. Those days are over. You've got to have good ad marketing. And you know what? One of the things I think, and I'm really hoping, and this is kind of a thing I'm going to step away from my role for a second as a member of the Nomination Governance Committee to say, okay, me as Chris Round, my opinion. I think helping clubs and dojos on the marketing end, recognizing that so many of the people that run dojos are doing it either as a part-time job or as a volunteer.
Yeah.
The more we can hand people that's pre-baked and help them get things running, and basically handing, hey, you started a dojo, here's your advertising kit. I think we'll have a lot better luck.
You know what? And I 1000% agree with you, because my only thing that I've been spewing, I have a couple of things that I always like spew, right? And one main talking point when I'm going to any of these like meetings with like the executives and the organization is your number one priority should be doubling every gym's membership, because now all of a sudden you double the membership, you double the money. competitions and tournament entries also double because there's only a small ratio of people from every club that compete, maybe 10%, 20%, whatever it is, right? So if you double the membership across every gym in the country, majority of your problems will be solved,
And
that's sort of my thing. And then how do we do that? And like you just said, advertising kit, media kits, resources for gym owners to be able to run their businesses a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
And I think Jimmy Pedro did a little bit of that in the American Judo system, et cetera, et cetera. But like, there's a marketing issue. Most people don't know it exists.
I mean, one thing I'm doing with my nonprofit, and we've talked about my nonprofit before, I'm in the middle of creating some products that are meant to be off-the-shelf teaching kits. Like, hey, I need a 16-week curriculum for a basic student.
There you go.
Here's the videos. Here's the theoretical knowledge you should have as a background as an instructor to kind of QA/QC. And here's the list of techniques, and here's how you set it up. Because like one of the things that one of the reasons why I put in all the effort I do to make sure like I have you can look up in my curriculum what day something is taught. And that's done both for legal protection reasons. So God forbid I'm ever in court and people say, hey, this person was doing this technique, they got hurt. I can go, hey, I've taught this technique X number of times and there hasn't been an issue. So to just simply, being organized, making sure all the topics that have to be covered are covered. And here's the thing that I learned in the last 2 years of, running my program. Oh my God, that level of effort's insane. So you've got to, the development of solid off-the-shelf materials, I think would help a lot of folks, particularly on the ad side, because I mean, writing ad copy is an art form. So, that's something that'll be really helpful. My nonprofit just got the Google Ads grant, and I'm still trying to get a strong understanding of how to use that and really harness it.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing stuff, Chris. Thank you very much. Vote for Chris Round. No, you're not running. I'm joking. But definitely reach out, comment on the video down below about what your opinions are. People will read it. People will use this sort of as a criteria for voting. What did you think of the Trump-Harris debate?
Oh God, you always try to pin me on these things. Thanks. I drank a fair amount of whiskey. So
it was definitely interesting to watch. Not for good reasons, but it was definitely interesting.
Alrighty. let me see how well I can dodge this question. No.
Oh yeah. No, man, it's funny. But yeah, everyone listening, go out there, vote. I have to say thank you to Jason, Levon, and Joe for sponsoring this podcast. Judo TV, Higashi brand also. Please go check that out. If you go to judotv.com, use discount code Shintaro. I will be commentating at the Tokyo Grand Slam, which is
that's awesome.
Really, really going to be amazing. So, definitely check it out. It's the best place to watch judo. You watch Judo TV?
Oh, of course.
It's awesome.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Do you watch a live stream or do you just watch matches?
Oh, I mostly try to grab the live stream if I'm awake, because some of these are early. But I always have, because I'm coaching semi-professionally, there are certain matchups I look for, like in certain divisions I watch for. For sure. That's
the amazing thing about Judo TV. You watch a guy blow through the division, you can go back and watch their matches from match number 1, match number 2, first, second round matches, but you don't have to sift through and then find it on the thing. You could just literally click on the bracket and be like, oh, first match, second match. And then you don't have to even sit through the whole match because they'll tell you where a score was had. This guy slammed this person 3 minutes and 47 seconds. You click on it, it takes you to that spot, bang, action. So you could watch your own highlight reel curated for the athlete of your selection literally in under 3 minutes, which is like the coolest thing on
this. And you do it on your computer or on your phone?
On your computer, on your phone. Never use it on my phone, but there's an app now. You like the app?
Yeah, I do. I've used that as my reference.
Nice. So go do that. Go register to vote for USA Judo representation. And then hopefully Keith Bryan gets back to me and then we have a conversation, And then maybe even Nicole. Nicole's in. And then, you send me a list and, maybe we try to get everybody on, and then we I'll ask them the questions that matter.
Sounds great, Shintaro.
Thank you very much, Chris. And everyone, thank you for listening. Any closing remarks?
Shintaro, thanks as always for having me on. And folks, I hope to see a big turnout for this year's election. All the best.
Thank you.